Hi friends, welcome to another Cascade Crochet video. Today I would like to have a chat to you about the trial and error process. I know it's one of the stages when you're designing that can get you down the most, just because it presents the most challenges. So you might have something that's not quite working, lines that are a bit wonky, things like I said that are rippling, that are cupping, that just aren't doing what you want them to do. And that idea that you've had in your head for your project, it's not quite coming together the way that you want to. So we've talked about sanity saver projects, which I think are a massive importance when you reach this point where your project might not be coming together the way you envisioned. But I did keep saying to you, one of the most important things is just to not give up, not give up, not give up. And sometimes that can seem really impossible. So I wanted to, show you my own example of a time when I had a lot of challenges with a design that I was doing, and that is what I call the shells in the mirror shawl. So we've got some shell stitch, some bean stitches, some raised rows, and then we've got sort of all these shells meeting up into this sort of fantastical mishmash in the middle, and then mirroring back the same way. So basically, for me to do this project, I had to essentially figure out some new stitches, figure out how I was going to place all these new stitches, and figure out how I was going to get the mirrored effect. Because as you may know, I like sort of all of my projects to be in one continuous piece. So, starting from the middle going out, or starting from one corner going to the next corner, or just being able to be made in one singular piece so it's nice and easy. And I don't mean easy, I mean they do have their challenges, especially if you're making a bag as a singular item where you never cut the thread. But what I'm getting at is that this is something that I hadn't tried before. So I was a little bit, daunted by it, because you've got all these different stitch counts for the fancy stitches, so for the shells, and then for raised rows for the bean stitches, and then to continue on with the body of it also being these kind of cascading shells. So actually initially figuring out my row count was a massive challenge, because I wanted it kind of big enough to sit around my arms as a shawl. So basically it sits, from my shoulder to probably about halfway down my arm there. And figuring out that row count along with how many stitches I actually needed for the special row of shells that I wanted to put in took quite a while of trial and error. And then especially throwing in the bean stitch, which is a textured stitch which uses up so much yarn. It was all a real challenge to sort of figure out if I was even going to have enough yarn. So by the time I sort of got to the end of one half of it, I then sort of cut it in half and then joined it up, and then basically did the same pattern from the other side, and then worked all the way back. So I'm like, okay then, so I know that this actually works, and then had to figure out an interesting way to actually join them in the middle. And if you'll see very closely there, I've actually got a crisscross of chains. So it's like, chain, crisscross. It's like there's a layered effect. So there's sort of a blue and pink on one side and then a blue and purple on the other side. So it does look really interesting. I put so much effort into that shawl, and I think like 3 or 4 people have picked it up. So it's like, it's quite a little bit of disappointment that you get when you've struggled so long, and then it's like, yes, it's finally done, it looks great, but you can't quite get like the fine details to show, and then sort of people aren't responding the way that you want to. So basically what I want to say is that if you reach any of these points, so where you're not getting the reception that you wanted, your project's harder than you anticipated it to be, just to not give up. Like, that's essentially the biggest thing. What you need to do is believe in yourself. And I know it can be really difficult, and sometimes we feel a bit funny saying, yeah, I believe in me, I think I'm really great at this, because obviously, you know, we've been raised in a society where we're supposed to be humble and, you know, sort of not shout out from the rooftops, yeah, I'm really great at this thing, because it sort of comes across poorly. But as a designer, you really need to be that person for yourself. You need to be the person who's standing behind you shouting, yeah, you're the best, you're great at this, you're fantastic, you have a lot of skill, you can do this. It's like, it might take you 10 tries, it might take you 20 tries, it might take you 30 tries, it might take you more. And you know what, that's fine, because the next project that you go to, you know, utilize those skills in, it's not going to be as hard. So when I did my very first shawl design, it took a lot of trial and error to figure out exactly how to do increases with an arch to make it sit nicely. There were so many attempts of, yeah, this looks really good for like 4 rows or 10 rows or 15 rows, and then get to a point where I'm just like, that doesn't work, and then having to frog it all the way back to the start. And yeah, I can't tell you how many times I had to do that. And it was a little bit heartbreaking every single time, but I persevered just because I'm an incredibly stubborn person by nature. And I just think that sometimes you need to be, I guess, if you're doing this sort of thing to like be your own boss, you really need to be your own boss. So you need to be literally standing behind yourself going, keep going, don't stop. You know, because you're not always going to have like the most supportive people around you in your life. So you need to find a way that's comfortable to you to be your own best support person and be your own best encouragement. Even if that means putting down your big project and designing something tiny. So designing your own little granny square, designing a pot holder, designing a mandala, you know, whether or not it's like simple or complex, you know, designing something small just to, I guess, reinvigorate your own confidence in yourself. And that's just really what I really wanted to get at today. So the design process is never easy, and you know, there's always some challenge involved, whether that is from an ideas perspective, from an execution perspective, from a marketing perspective. There's always a challenge involved there. But every time you encounter one of these challenges, it gets easier in the future. And even if your first design does take 100 tries to get it exactly perfect, you know, that's okay. Next time it'll take less, and the next time it'll take less, and the next time it'll take less, and you'll have a better idea of exactly how your design process works. So you might work best if you work on your pattern first thing in the morning, or late at night, or, you know, spend half your day like sketching out different ideas, or doing research, or, you know, creating something completely crazy just to, I guess, stretch your own talents a bit. So learning new stitches and things like that. The first design is the hardest design. And I definitely can attest to my first design being the hardest design. Even though this one was very, I guess, it pushed me a bit technically. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of how it turned out, even though it hasn't gotten a lot of love. I still love it. I love the way that it looks. I love the way that it sits on you. It's like nice and breezy, so it's, you know, it feels good. So I'm super proud of it. You know, maybe in the future it'll get the love that I think it deserves. But, you know, that's been another challenge for me, that the reception for that one hasn't been as great as the others. But you know what? It's something that I learnt from. So by coming across the challenge with sort of not getting as much love for that one, I knew with my next shawl, it's like, okay, then I have to, you know, approach my marketing of it completely differently. You know, put it out here, put it out here, put it out here, like a dozen different places. You know, get my friends to help, you know, push the content of it up to the top, because I'm very big on social media marketing, because I know that a lot of us are, you know, on social media. So, you know, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, like everything you can think of. So there are a lot of different ways that you can market your product. You can advertise it with paid advertising. We'll look at the marketing aspect probably, I guess, in a couple of videos, because, you know, I know it's a lot to take in. I'm getting a little bit off track, because what I really wanted to get at today was, you know, if you get stuck, you need to be your own cheerleader. You need to be that person in the corner that believes in yourself. When you put something down and you think you can't do it, you need to be the person who says to you, no, you can do it. There's a reason why you started to try this. You know, it's because you had an idea, you wanted to create something, and I believe in me. So that's what I wanted to get across today. Finally, green lips. I was actually devastated this morning to find out that I didn't have green lipstick. So, because we're all problem solvers and designers here, we have a nice shade of green eyeshadow on my lips. If anyone wants to get me green lipstick for Christmas, I'll love you forever. But otherwise, I'll get some for myself, don't worry. So look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, which will hopefully be tomorrow, and hopefully I will be back on my PC. I'm not loving having to do the videos out in the lounge room, but hopefully we'll have some microphone action happening for the PC, so that'll be really good, because it's much nicer to work from the office. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful day today, and remember, you know, you need to believe in you before anyone else does. Be your biggest cheerleader. Don't give up. You had your idea for a reason. I believe you can do it. I need you to believe you can do it. All right? Love you. See you next time.